Welcome everyone, and thank you all for joining. I wanted to thank Francine as well. I've always heard Francine's name. Her name precedes her. She is very active in the community and philanthropic and involved in many different great community organizations. And however, I've learned through Chu and Stuart Lazar, who are her friends who introduced us to Francine Coles, that she also has another passion, and that is the kitchen. And so today she is going to be sharing some tips and tricks to make a dessert that you can do in your home. It doesn't have to touch an oven. And she says it's easy. I looked at the instructions and I'm not a kitchen person. I love eating it. But she says it's easy and we're going to trust her on this one. So again, this is Banoffee pie cups. The ingredients, if you didn't see the email today or you didn't notice in the email, the ingredients and the recipe are all listed in the bottom of the email from today. I will share it again if anyone wants me to email it to them separately. We're happy to do that. But Francine has as well a blog, a website that is called the Fancy Pants Kitchen. So the fancypantskitchen.com, where you can find this recipe. You could read more about her and her family, her passion. And as she mentioned, she has more things in the works regarding cooking and her website. So Francine, thank you so much for today and for coming on today and teaching us all about Banoffee pie cups. The pictures look delicious, and now we get to watch how you make the deliciousness. So thank you.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Rabbi. And I also want to thank Chu Lazar for inviting me to join you all. It is really a pleasure, and especially to be able to share something that I appreciate or that I enjoy so much. So thank you all for getting onto this Zoom session. So I'm going to correct you, Rabbi. It's Banoffee pie. And the reason that it's called that, it is a combination of bananas and toffee, Banoffee. Gotcha. So yeah, so I found out about this. My boys were very lucky when they were young to be able to go on a safari with their dad. And when they came back from the safari, I asked them what their favorite part of it was, and it was unanimous, Banoffee pie. So I did a little bit of research on it. It's something that originated in England, and it's just this combination of a pie crust and some form of toffee, sauce, bananas, and whipped cream. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make this, but we're going to do it in a no-bake format so that it's really easy, and you don't have to heat up the kitchen or anything like that. So it is, let's see how we're going to start. It's okay. So I told you it's these different layers. So what we're going to do for the crust is we're going to use graham cracker crumbs. And so I'm going to hold these things up because I know that the way that my kitchen is situated with the iPad, it might be a little hard to see my work surface here, but this is, if you can find the graham cracker crumbs already crumbled up, that's great. Sometimes it's a little hard to find that box. It's in where they keep all the flour and sugar and that sort of thing, but sometimes it's difficult to get it. So if you can't find it, you can always find graham crackers. You can put them in a Ziploc bag, close the bag up, and smash them with a rolling pin. Now it takes a little bit of elbow, power on that one, but you can also put them into a food processor and pulse them a couple of times. And what you're looking for, I don't know if you can see that, is to get kind of this crumbly type of a consistency. Okay, so we're going to take a cup of that. And by the way, I did see a couple of mentions as to whether or not the recipe was available. And yes, as Rabbi said, it's in the bottom of the email that he sent. And if you didn't get that, you can always quickly go to thefancypantskitchen.com. And in the little search bar, you can put in Banoffee, Banoffee, Banoffee pie You don't even have to put cups, and it'll bring it up in the search bar, and you just click on it and the recipe is right there. The recipes are also available to print off of the website too. Okay, so we're going to combine this 1 cup of the crumbs, and we're going to mix it with 2 tablespoons of packed brown sugar. And for those of you who are unfamiliar about the difference between packed and unpacked, what you want to do, because brown sugar is very kind of fluffy in a lot of ways, you want to push it down. Okay, you want to push it down and kind of level it off, okay, so that you can't squeeze in anymore, okay? And we're going to put 2 of those into our bowl. And my hands are clean, so just so you know, and I am just mixing it with my fingers, but feel free to mix it with a spoon or whatever. Okay, I have heated up some, I've melted 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I like unsalted butter. It's easier to control how much salt you want. In this, we're not putting any salt into it. But anyhow, just melt up 4 tablespoons either on your cooktop, or I prefer the microwave. That way you don't have to start with any cooking at all, okay? And put it into your bowl with your crumbs and your sugar. And I like to use a fork when I'm mixing this, just because I want to make sure that all the crumbs get a little moistened, okay? It just seems to work a little bit easier with a fork, but it's not like a really big deal if you use a spoon. I mean, you could also use your hands if you're like me. I like to be pretty hands-on, so to speak, with this stuff. So, okay, and that's it. I mean, it kind of looks like wet sand. All right, and then our little cups. Okay, so I am using these little cups. They're really cute. They're really perfect for this recipe. I love them because you can see all the layers, but do not fret if you don't have something like that. You can use a juice cup, a cocktail cup. You can even use like a little ramekin, you know, one of these white ramekins. You won't see all the layers, but you know, it'll still work in a pinch. I got these, by the way, at CB2. It's up at the Scottsdale Quarter, but they also have an online shop that you can buy them from if you really want them. So anyhow, what we're going to do next, and by the way, if you do have any questions, please type in. If I'm going too fast, if you don't understand what I'm saying, please stop me. I'm happy to take your questions. Okay, we're going to take about 2 tablespoons of this crumb mixture, and we're going to put it in each glass. And what I like to do is I use a spice bottle, and I want to push this down. I like it better than using my fingers because, number one, I have long nails, and then I make nail prints in the bottom, which I don't think is very pretty. And it just gets kind of a firmer pack. Do you see how I've done that? Okay, and then that's the bottom of it there, okay? I'm going to, sorry, I kind of have a few things around here. I'm going to quickly do these other ones here. This makes enough for 4. Actually, I think I'll probably just do 2 because we probably don't need all 4 done. Okay, and once these are done, just pop them in the refrigerator while we make the rest of it. The reason you're going to do this is so that the butter that you've melted is going to firm up, and it's going to make the crust of a stronger, denser base. Okay, I'll be back in half a second. You just put these in the fridge over here.
Just typing in over here, I did include in the chat 2 locations for the recipe, the email and Francine's website.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, while we're doing that, we're going to make the whipped cream. Okay, now let me just tell you something. You don't have to make whipped cream. I like to do it. I'm a bit of a purist. I like being able to flavor it and sweeten it at the level that I want to. But you can also use this good stuff, which is kosher, and this good stuff, Cool Whip, which is also kosher. You can use any of those if you don't want to fuss with this. They are so close in the consistency and the taste that I would say, unless you're like me and you don't have to do that. Either one of those would be perfect alternatives. And especially if you don't want a dairy product, this Cool Whip is a great way to go. In the meantime, though, I am going to show you, for those who might want to make whipped cream, how we're going to do it. Okay. We're going to take 1 cup of very cold whipping cream. Okay, and I use the heavy whipping cream. It's got a little more fat content than just whipping cream, but either of them will work. If you can't find the heavy, just get the regular whipping cream, okay? And I'm gonna put it into my mixer, the bowl of my mixer, and we're going to use the whisk attachment, okay? That's this guy here. Now, you can always use a hand mixer. You can also, if you're strong, you can whisk it yourself. I am not that strong that I can do that. So I'm gonna do this, and what we're gonna do, it's gonna make a little bit of noise while I'm mixing it. So I'm gonna try to talk loud so that you can hear me. If you can't, maybe I'll move the mixer to another room while I'm doing it. But what we wanna do is we wanna start off by mixing this kind of in a low speed until it gets a bit thicker and foamy. And then we're going to add into it some confectioner's sugar and a little bit of vanilla. Okay, so let me get this started. Give me half a sec. Okay, and while that's mixing, let me just keep an eye on the time here so that I know approximately how long it should mix for. I want to tell you about the whipped cream because we're going to layer that onto these other layers. Now, you can very easily just take a spoon and dollop it on, or you can be like a little cuckoo like me and you can put it into a pastry bag, okay? This is a disposable pastry bag, and what did I do with my little tip? All right, I'm going to find my tip. I had it here. Sorry about that. Well, oh, here it is, right beside me. Okay, so what we're gonna do, this tip, and again, you can use any tip that you might have. This is a star, like a medium-sized star tip. And I'm gonna cut, I don't know, about 1.5 inches off of the bottom of this bag. And I am going to just drop this tip into it. Now, when this whipping cream is ready to put into the bag, I find it's much easier to put it in a bag if I can have both of my hands to do it with. So I use a nice tall cup and I put the bag over it. Can you see? So it's open and it's ready for me to pour my whipping cream into it. Okay, let me check on this. Pop it up just a little bit. And, oh, let me tell you also, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, I just didn't want to.
You're good.
Oh, great. Okay, so my recipe calls for pure vanilla extract. You always want to spend the extra money for pure. I know it's very expensive, but it makes a huge difference in the flavors of baked goods. But you can also use vanilla bean paste. You use it in the exact same quantities. The thing with vanilla bean paste, it's a little hard to find, but it's got the little bits of vanilla seed in it that if you've ever split a vanilla bean pod and opened it up, inside are these tiny little seeds. And it just makes, I think, a lovely look to whatever you're making, especially if it's a whipped cream, because you'll see those little specks in it, but it is highly not necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add these in. And I just popped up the speed a little bit because we want to get a really nice whip on this, okay? Give me a second. I've got to keep an eye on it because it can get too clumpy, which we don't want it to do. I'm also going to just make sure some of the sugar, the confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar, is up on the side of it. So I'm just going to push it all in there. And yeah, okay, so now with the dulce de leche. So this stuff is, I didn't tell you about it yet, did I? No, I was telling the rabbi about it earlier. Okay, so the really delicious layer that, I mean, besides the bananas and the crust and the whipping cream, is the dulce de leche. Okay, dulce de leche is like a caramel sauce. It is a caramel sauce, but it's got a thickness to it. I'll show you. This is what it looks like coming right out of the jar. This is used a lot in Argentinian baking. Rabbi and I were just talking about it. We've both been to Argentina. He has actually spent a year in Argentina and knows this very fondly. All right, another minute or so. All right, and this is a kosher dulce de leche, and I was able to get it at Cost Plus World Market, and you can order it online if you don't feel like going over there. It's really a good one. This is not the one that I normally use, but I was seeking out kosher products to use for this presentation, and I found this, and I'm really, really pleased with it. Okay, now I'm going to show you the type of consistency that you want. So I don't know if you can tell, but can you see that it isn't falling off? If it's falling off of the whisk, it's too loose, okay? So you should be able to take your whisk through it and see some lines. Yeah, there we go. Okay, but again, as I was mentioning, you want to be a little bit careful that you don't overbeat it, because then it almost looks like it's curdled. And it's hard, it will taste the same, but it's hard to make it look pretty. Okay, I am now going to put this into this prepared bag, and I'm just going to take my spatula and drop it in there. Okay, almost. All right. Now, I am going to, just to make this dulce de leche easier to spread, I'm going to pop it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to grab the cups that we already started out of the fridge. So hold tight. Okay, I'm back. All right. Just moving things away, waiting for the dulce de leche, because that is the next, oh, yeah, that's the next layer. But you know what, in the meantime, let's cut up the bananas. So with the bananas, for those of you who like to make banana bread, you know that you want your bananas as brown as possible. That's how they get the sweetest, and they mush up really beautifully. But for this recipe, you almost want it the way you would eat a banana, not so soft and mushy that it doesn't hold any texture to it, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna peel it and we're gonna slice it into little rounds that are maybe 1/4 of an inch thick. I'll show you as soon as I get some of these cut up. Okay, so yeah, I would say just about that thick. Okay. All right, I've got that. Let me get the dulce de leche. Okay, so you saw it before where it was more of a solid mass. Now it's more of a sauce, so it'll be easier to spread it onto these. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start our layering. So we start with 2 tablespoons. Let me get this little tablespoon here. 2 tablespoons, and you know, I don't get crazy about getting it too exact. I just try to get it fairly level to the top, but some can be dripping off. That's okay. And we're going to put it into both cups. Okay, and you can either spread it with a fork or with a spoon, or you can use a little offset spatula. I like to just spread it enough so that you can see it from the outside all the way around. All right, you see, you can see a thin little layer of it. We'll do the same thing with the other one. All right, how are you guys doing? Are y'all following along okay? Anybody have any questions?
I think most, there were 2 questions. If afterwards, if you could show the dulce de leche that you used.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I can even show you right now. It's called en dolce, N''dolce. And
Okay, I put that in the chat, actually. I found that.
okay, great. Thank you so much. And like I said, cost plus is where I got it. Okay, now we're going to layer our bananas over the top of it. So if I remember correctly, I usually use 5 little rounds. That's what fits in here well, but you know, everybody's got their own size cups. So actually, I think 4 in this case. These must be bigger bananas. Or maybe I'll push it aside a little bit. Okay, see how I did that? I just kind of spiraled it around. Sorry, my light's just not great. It's a little hard to see, but we'll go ahead and do this in the next one as well. Okay. Now comes the fun part with the whipping cream. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 different ways of doing it, okay? So I've got my pastry bag and I'm going to push it down. So do you see how the whipping cream is coming out? So I'm going to make, I want to, let me see. I just want to be able to show you what these are going to look like. And sometimes working with a pastry bag, if you've never worked with one before, it's a little tricky and it does take a little bit of time, but I always practice on a hard surface first, whether it's a cutting board or this is a little baking sheet. I always practice first. And with this star tip, if I just press down with a little bit of pressure, can you, let me see this without the shadow. Can you see those little stars that I just made?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, yeah, so if you just go straight down on it, not on an angle, just straight down for this technique. Other techniques, when you use a piping bag, you'll want to be at a 45-degree angle. And if you do want more information on how to use a piping bag, there are wonderful tutorials on YouTube. So you know, I get a lot of my help actually from these tutorials. So anyway, I'm just going to dollop this in here. And I want to get it as close to the edge because that's the design. You know, you're going to see that on the outside. So that's the outside of it. And there's, let me see again with the light. Sorry, I'm trying to get it so that the light's not reflecting off of it. But that's the idea. On the next one, let's try doing the Ready Whip and see how that goes, because that's real easy to do also. Oh, I like that. Okay, so that, and then you can see along the outside, there's a little pretty design. So either one, and I'll tell you that Ready Whip is a whole lot easier than making the whipping cream. Okay, second layer, because I like to kind of do things a little decadent. We're going to put another 2 tablespoons of the crumbs on the top. And now these ones you're not going to really, I mean, you don't really need to use the spice bottle, but you know, kind of spread them around and give them a little push. Okay. And you can see we're kind of running out of room, so it's going to end up piling up on top, but it's perfect. It's not a problem at all. You might even have to reheat your dulce de leche, but I think we should be okay for this layer. This is such a good dessert. So for one of my son's birthdays, I surprised him with it just this year. I mean, now my youngest is 25 and my older son is 28, and yet this still makes them incredibly happy. So, you know, these nostalgic things are great. Okay, so this one, when you spread it, because those crumbs are not, you know, they haven't had the chance to sit in the refrigerator and firm up, it doesn't spread quite as nicely. You might get a little bit of the crumbs mixing in with the dulce de leche. You know, at the end of the day, it's all going into the same bite, the same mouthful. So it doesn't really matter. It's not critical. Okay, let's layer up some more of the bananas. Okay, let me just cut a few more pieces here. Okay, perfect. All right, bananas on the top. And let's finish it off with the whipping cream. Here, we'll use our homemade whipping cream. And let's try a different kind of a pattern. How's that? All right, we'll do something. Whoa. Okay, yeah, it looks like a sundae, right? Okay, so then the final little piece, and you can do this with anything you want. You can top it with any kind of, you know, you can just shave up some chocolate if you want. You don't even have to put any topping. But again, something nostalgic for my kids. I grew up in Canada, and I loved sponge toffee. It's also called seafoam. It's called honeycomb. I loved sponge toffee. So every time I go to Canada, I bring back these wonderful crunchy bars. And by the way, I just saw the FedEx truck, and I have 3 dogs. And if he stops at my house, the dogs are going to go nuts. So I apologize in advance. But anyhow, just take some of this crunchy bar and just give it a little, you know, just cut it into small little bits, and then sprinkle it on the top, and you're done. A little on that, a little on this one. All right, gang. What do you think? Let me
Looks
see if I
delicious.
get you a good visual on that. Okay, and you've got the crunchy bits on the top. And here's a great thing about this. You can make this hours in advance. Just pop it back into the refrigerator. Oh, good, the FedEx guy didn't come. Yeah, just pop it back into the refrigerator. If there's a way to cover it, you can, I don't know, with the whipped cream on, if you cover it, the plastic wrap might stick to it. But I do want to show you what kind of a bite you're going to get when you dig down. Okay. I mean, you've got everything in there. You've got all 4 layers twice. So, all right. That's it. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer, whether it's about this or about anything.
Oh, I had a question.
Sure.
I missed the part where you said the Dolce. Do I have to put that in the microwave to heat up? Is that what you said? Or do you make it thinner or something? I
Yes.
missed it. I was writing some
Yeah,
things.
sure. No problem. Let me get the open jar here. And you can see when it comes right from the jar, it's sort of, you know, thick. And in order to be able to spread it over the crumbs, I pop it into the microwave. I actually put that in for 30 seconds.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and then give it a good stir. And it does say that in the directions as well. So, and then it's just that much easier to spread it on that crumb base. When you do the second layer, it would have behooved me to put it back in the microwave for about 10 seconds, because as it's been sitting out here, and my kitchen is a little cold, I don't have the heat on, so it got a little firmer. So yeah, you could do that. Put it back in for a few seconds if you'd like. But yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, so before anyone, and first of all, anyone who has a question, please unmute your mic. Someone asked in the chat, if using Cool Whip, should you put it in a pastry bag? That was one question.
Oh, well, you know what? That's a great question. You can do that. You can also, where's the Cool Whip? You can really just, if you want to make it easy, you can just dollop it, you know, just take a spoonful of it. And here, I'll show you just in an extra cup. You know, it won't be as pretty, like I say, and you might end up getting some smeared on the side of it like I did, which then sort of takes away from the pretty layering on this. But yes, you definitely can. I mean, don't shy away from making life easy. Okay, that's what I'm all about, is making it easy for yourself. And even, let me grab a paper towel. Even if you did smear up the side, like I just said, just dampen a paper towel and wipe it out. Gone. Okay, so I would say do whatever is easiest for you. Yeah, you could put it into the pastry bag. It would work also. I think I've actually, have I ever put that in there? I don't think I have ever done it, but it's the same consistency as the whipped cream. So I don't know why it wouldn't work in the pastry bag. So.
No, Paula's asking the candy that you happen to like for the topping. Can you get that here in the United States?
Yes, actually, Whole Foods. That's where I got it as well. I mean, they have a great international candy section, which I happen to love. And there's a lot of Canadian candies, like Cadbury's line is a Canadian candy line. I mean, it might be British. I shouldn't speak out of turn, but I know that, like, in Africa, you can get a lot of the same things that I grew up with. But yes, this violet crumble is what this one is called. But I will also tell you that Sprouts carries it. They carry it kind of in bulk form, like in their little plastic boxes where they have all their candies, and I think they call it honeycomb there. But yes, they have it also. And theirs is in tiny little bite-sized pieces. But again, just chop up 1 or 2 and you'll get enough to top, and then the rest you can just eat because you love it.
The other question was, where are you from in Canada?
Oh, I'm from Toronto.
All right.
Yeah.
Not
From
Winnipeg.
Toronto.
That's what she was hoping, Winnipeg. She wanted to get, some geography connection over there.
Yeah, well, my stepmom is from the Winnipeg area. So, yeah, from Toronto, but I've been here since 1977. So this is definitely home. And, yeah, I go back up there a lot, though. I have a lot of family there. I saw something about dark chocolate.
Home and both milk and dark chocolate is always available at every Rocky Mountain candy shop. So that was from Gail.
Oh, yes. I was going to say Rocky Mountain Candy Shop, except I don't know where there is one anymore. There was one at the Scottsdale Fashion Square. I'm not sure if it's still there, but you're right. Theirs is delicious also.
Judy, did you have a question? I saw that you unmuted your mic.
I did. I want to thank her for the presentation, and it looks just delicious exactly the way it is. But I'm thinking about all that sugar and the butter and all of that stuff. And I wanted to know if she could think of any substitutes. I was thinking maybe yogurt of, so many different flavors.
Actually, I do think that a yogurt, like a vanilla flavored yogurt, would be great in the place of the whipping cream, because when you think about it, you put fruit, a lot of people will put fruit and granola all the time with a Greek yogurt or whatever. And so you've got your bananas and you've got your crumbles, your granola, consider your crust like your granola. I mean, it'll have a little bit of a sour-ish taste like yogurt does, but if you like that, then I'm sure it would be delicious. And also, on the butter, you've really only got 4 tablespoons of it in the whole thing. This is a dessert that it will make up 4 or 5 of these. So each person is only going to have 1 tablespoon of butter. But again, if that is too much, I'm trying to think.
I think they have some like Earth Balance. It's much better for you than butter.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can bake with that.
Right. No. You can absolutely use Earth Balance, or if you're vegan or vegetarian, or actually vegan is where you would use it. The Earth Balance works beautifully and stuff like this. I've baked a lot with Earth Balance, and it works really nice.
But it's very beautiful, and I'm thinking that there are so many other things that you could put in it, like raspberries, or top it with raspberries or whatever. But the presentation and the glass, I think, would lend itself to a lot of different variety.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. You're welcome.
It's not this, Judy.
No, well, you could call it Banoffee pie.
There you go.
You could, but I agree that there's lots of these no-bake types of recipes. In fact, I made one that was a no-bake s'mores cheesecake cup. And it was layered like that also, but with a cheesecake or a cream cheese mixed with the Cool Whip, mixed with some marshmallows, and then the chocolate and the graham crackers, and it was also delicious. Yeah, there's a bunch of these kinds of things that you can do.
Chu, did you have a question? I saw that you.
Yeah, Francine, the butter, should it be salted or unsalted? Unsalted.
Yeah. So I normally choose unsalted butter. The reason I do, and it doesn't apply to this recipe, but the reason that I choose unsalted versus salted is because I like to regulate how much salt I'm putting into my recipes. When you get salted butter, you don't know how much you should add to make all the flavors come together nicely. So I always use unsalted. In this recipe, it doesn't call for salt. So, you know, and it's such a small amount of, excuse me, of butter that you're using that I think either one would be perfect. I don't think, you know, I don't believe you can ever go wrong with salt. I know that I'm probably way out there in that belief, but most chefs are like that also. Most chefs will say, you know, that good healthy dosings of salt into your food will make your food taste better. Now, I won't say anything about the health aspects of that, but if you're just looking for the taste of the food, it always tastes better with salt. Now, if you never have salt, which I know a lot of people don't have any salt, they won't like when you put salt into something. But with baking, you do need a little bit of it in most recipes. There's probably in these crumbs a little bit of sodium. Yes, there's 95 milligrams of sodium in 2.5 tablespoons. So that's probably enough for this particular recipe. So you really, I mean, unsalted would be fine. Again, if you don't have it, the salted is perfect.
I have a follow-up question, Francine. Sure. Thank you for that. As far as like, if you need more servings, like more of, you know, the cups, can you just double it or triple?
Easily. Yes. There's no reason
to make individual, you know, like.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason, there's nothing here that can't be doubled. I mean, don't forget, it's all, you know, from a jar, or, you know, just go buy more bananas, go buy double of all the ingredients. And yes, it's a good question. This is one of these recipes that does not suffer from doubling or tripling it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Michelle,
question.
did you have a question?
Oh, I was just enjoying this very much. Thank you. Are you actually, I am curious, Francine, with the question about the cholesterol-free, I guess, butter or such. Do you find there's more liquid in there in terms of baking? It makes the batter a little bit more liquidy?
You know, I have to tell you, I haven't really baked with it in a long time. My daughter was vegan when she was young for a while, so I got really familiar with it, but she also couldn't have much sugar, so I really didn't bake a lot with it.
Right.
But I would think you are right. I would think that it would be more liquidy. My experiences with it when I was cooking with it was that it was more watery. I would suggest using a very light oil instead. If you can't do butter and you're baking, try using an oil like an avocado oil or a canola, you know, some kind of a vegetable oil. I mean, I love avocado oil. The only thing is it's very expensive, but canola works just fine. And I know that there's all sorts of controversy over canola oil. I'm just saying it works really well in baking. So, you know, if you can't have, if you don't want the butter, I would say I would go for oil before I would go for, you know, and I must tell you that that's in baking. Okay, this we didn't bake, so I think you could use Earth Balance just fine in this one. In fact, I wouldn't use oil in this one. I mean, it won't hold those crumbs the way you need it to.
I have 2 vegan daughters, adult daughters, and so I try to adapt recipes. And so it's interesting how that works. Some will work and some will not. But the mandel bread, for example, which maybe people use butter for, the oil is perfect. So
yeah, I use oil for mine also. I don't even use butter.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
In fact, on my website, if you like Mandelbrot, check out, it's called Tammy's Biscotti. It is the best ever. I mean, and it's just like, I mean, call it Mandelbrot, call it
whatever.
Yes. Exact same thing. And it is a wonderful recipe. It's got Rice Krispie bits in it, and it's got almonds, and oh my gosh, it's
wonderful.
really
Thank you. I'll look at that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
On that note, Francine, what do you focus on primarily on your website? Is it more the desserts or entrees as well?
You know, I do everything. If you go to my website and you look at the recipe tab at the very top, you'll see it broken into categories. And I have appetizers, soups, salads, main courses. I happen to love baking, and I mean, I love cooking and baking equally, but I love the presentation when I bake. So the photography, I do all my own photography, and I just find that the baked stuff looks so much prettier. So I tend to do a lot of that. And especially right now at the holidays, you'll see, again, if you're looking at my website on the homepage, you'll see every Sunday I update the website. So if you subscribe, which is free, every Sunday you'll get an email from me with the recipes, the updated recipes. I mean, it's the whole website. You'll have everything, access to everything, but it'll show you the newest ones. And this week, because Christmas is on Friday, there's a lot of holiday Christmas cookies and stuff. If you saw the one the week before, it was all Hanukkah and latkes and applesauce and iced Hanukkah cookies. And, so I do a little bit of everything. It just kind of depends what the season is and, what's looking good to me at the market or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Paula, you had a question?
Yes. Have you ever made it in the shape of a pie instead of individual servings?
I haven't, but I was going to say that when I was thinking about it when somebody just said something about the servings. And Chu, when you asked me if you could double it, yes, it is absolutely adaptable to making it into a pie. Absolutely. I would only do one layer though, and make sure that you get that base nice and compact, and then push it up the side. And then get it nice and cold, maybe in the fridge for about maybe 20 minutes or a half an hour, and then bring it out and start to do the rest of it. And I think it would be great as a pie. I would imagine that it would come out of the pie tin or pie plate easily if that base is nice and firm. And then after you make it, put it back in the fridge and let that dulce de leche get a little hardened up, and it should come out very nicely in one layer, or in one nice slice.
Also, when you substituted avocado oil, what did you use it for?
No, that is in baking recipes. Like
right. What do you substitute?
Oh, like I put it in my biscotti, as I had mentioned before. I have other baking recipes. Like I have a cake recipe. It's a coconut, it's like a coconut pop. And, oh my God. If my dogs hear your dogs.
Oh, I'm so
now
sorry.
I,
I thought I shut off the thing. I'm so sorry.
That is so funny. When they do that, when we're watching TV and they hear a doorbell or they hear another dog on the TV, they all come running, but they seem to have calmed down now. But yeah, this on my website, I have a coffee cake recipe. It's a coconut coffee cake. And I had made that also when my daughter first decided to become vegan, before she couldn't eat sugar anymore. And that one uses the oil as well. So, some of the more denser cakes and stuff, I have a chocolate cake that I use the avocado oil in. But again, any kind of oil, as long as it's light and more of a vegetable versus an olive oil, which is too heavy in consistency and also too heavy in flavor.
Thank you.
What's your website?
What
I
is
put
it?
in the chat.
What is your website?
Yeah, it's called the Fancy Pants Kitchen. And Rabbi's put the link into the chat.
I'm going to put it again.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd love for you all to take a look at it. It's a lot of fun. I will confess that not everything is kosher. I have a very diverse following. I have people from Europe and Canada and all over. And I also don't keep kosher. So that's why you'll see recipes that aren't necessarily kosher, but a lot of recipes can be adapted as well. So,
No need to do confessions. That's not.
all right, fine. I won't confess. All right.
Francine, you can use a trifle container.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it really
You
look
could.
beautiful. Just layer and layer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It would look gorgeous. Here, let me show you a really pretty one that I have. I'll be right back.
Okay. We'll go up the hill and through the desert.
Yeah. How about this? This is from Mackenzie Childs.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think about how
Beautiful.
pretty that would look. You would need to probably triple the recipe in order, maybe even more, in order to get, enough layers. And I mean, if you have a smaller trifle dish, then that would be great too. But you would have to play around a little bit with those quantities.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Francine? Don't be shy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
Okay.
welcome. And listen,
Thank you.
if there's any questions that you have or, that you think about later, you can email me through my website. There's an area where it says contact me up at the top, and I will be happy to get back to you.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
Thanks for all of you for
Thank you.
coming and participating. This was a lot of fun. This was the first one that I've done. So I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad you guys
We
were all
did
my
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Also,
so
Thank you
much.
so much.
you should keep doing them.
Wonderful.
Yes.
We'll have to wait for them to come out on YouTube. That'll be really cool.
There.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Rabbi. Thank
I have
you.
one question in the chat before we, can you use caramel topping instead?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that when at first I had a hard time finding the kosher dulce de leche. And I think you can, because what you want is for it to get a little bit firm. You don't want it to be runny. And well, actually, it wouldn't hurt for it to be runny. It would just be messy. It might kind of be drooling down your chin as you're eating it. But you know how when you've got the caramel sauce in the fridge and you take it out and you try to pour it on something, you usually,
Sorry.
at least you normally have to microwave it to get it to a pourable state. So I think it should be fine, but that was something I was sort of playing around with if I couldn't find the kosher dulce de leche. So yeah, I think you could. I think you could.
All right, thank you so much. This was great. And if anyone does have any questions further, again, her website, Francine's website will be awesome.
Yeah.
In that journey and quest. So thank you.